We're going to go ahead and get started. And to do that, I'd like to invite up Lance Fisher. Lance is a proud member of the Northern Cheyenne Nation of Montana. His Cheyenne name translates to medicine bear. He's a financial specialist with the Office of Self-Governance with the Department of Interior, and he hopes to use his singing to honor traditions, inspire youth, and to celebrate life. So please join me in welcoming Lance.
Hello, thank you all for inviting me to sing today. I'm going to sing a Cheyenne veteran song, honor song, and the translation from Cheyenne English is Women Warriors, the flag, the one you got to protect. There it is, it's still waving in the wind. When I Hey, yo. Abo, thank you very much.
Thank you, Lance. You know, our nations are grounded in both prayer and song, so thank you so much for starting us off well. So, hello, my name is Megan Till. Welcome. I am Turtle Plan from the Oneida Nation of Wisconsin, and I have the great honor of serving as the Director of Honoring Nations at the Harvard Project on American Indian Economic Development. It's really, truly a treat to see you all here. It's been a long day coming. I see old friends and I see new friends from all around the world. So thank you for joining us in celebrating 4 really remarkable tribal governance programs that support youth leadership and healthy families. We've hopefully seen them highlighted outside in the banner exhibit, and we will hear from them a little bit later in the agenda, but I'd like to acknowledge them right now, and maybe as I call your name, you can stand. So we'll start with the Ohologo Under the Husk Rites of Passage program from the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. The Port Gamble Squalum Tribal Child Welfare Program from the Port Gamble Squalum Tribe. The school-based health centers from the Fort Peck Assiniboine and Sioux tribes. And the Potawatomi Leadership Program from the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for sharing your work. It truly strengthens us all. Strengthens us all. So today marks the 2nd banner exhibit unveiling, which we've done in partnership with the National Museum of the American Indian. And the museum has really been a tremendous partner to us, offering support and key advice, particular to these banner exhibits. And I'm thankful to Kevin Gover and Carolyn Gilman and Terry Snowball and Hannah Wendling and many others. And I'd really like to invite Kevin Gover to say a few words of welcome on behalf of the museum. Kevin is Pawnee, and again, I'm sure as you all know, director of this very beautiful and important building that we're sitting in today.
Well, good afternoon. Welcome to the National Museum of the American Indian. Welcome as well to the Smithsonian Institution. How many of you have been here before, first of all? Almost everybody. How many of you are here at the on the opening day in 2004? Yeah, that was a good day, wasn't it? So this building opened in 2004. As you can see, we are the closest Smithsonian museum to the United States Capitol. We actually watched the inaugurations take place from the terrace floor above us. And so we feel very fortunate to have this location. Congratulations, by the way, to the projects and programs that are being honored this year. Thank you very much for your good work. And I'd like also to thank the Harvard Project for choosing us for this event and for working with us in the various ways that they do. So again, welcome to the National Museum of the American Indian.
Thanks, Kevin. It's always exciting for me to be here and to work with the museum. It's such an incredible platform to celebrate the peoples of the Americas, and I really look forward to future collaborations. So thank you for your support. This is an auspicious year for us. 2017 is the 30th anniversary of the Harvard Project. It was started in 1987 by Joe Kalt and Steve Cornell. They, in addition to Andrew Lee, gave life to Honoring Nations in 1998. And I'd love to invite Steve Cornell up to say a few words. Steve is, of course, the co-director of the Harvard Project.
Thanks, Megan. Thank you, Kevin, for that welcome to the museum. And thanks to all of you for being here On behalf of the Harvard Project on American Indian Economic Development and of Honoring Nations, I too just want to welcome you here and just give a little bit of context to this event and to this new banner display, and say a little bit about the Harvard Project and the origin of this program. The Harvard Project was born in the late 1980s out of concrete facts on the ground. And those facts were that Indian country was poor, but it wasn't uniformly poor. And there was a puzzle in the data. The performance by some tribes didn't conform to the sort of top-of-the-head explanations of economic performance that you might expect. And that conundrum, that puzzle in the data, led to the Harvard Project on American Indian Economic Development, which set out to try to discover what was working in Indian country and why. And that research revealed that there were a lot of factors involved in outcomes in Indian country, but the key factor among them, over and over again, turned out to be governance. It turned out to be the inclination and ability of native nations to seize decision-making power in their own affairs, and then to back up that power with capable institutions of governance that reflected their own ideas about the exercise of authority and how it ought to be organized. And in essence, the key was indigenous nations forming their own governments according to their own designs and making them work. And that turned out to be important, not just economic performance, it turned out to be important to all kinds of things: language revitalization, land consolidation, natural resource stewardship, productive relationships with other governments. Having the governance act together turned out to be the critical piece. And that, in a nutshell, was the finding of that research. But in the course of that research, and sometimes I think in response to it, we discovered a growing number of Indian nations that were doing extraordinary things in the field of governance, in lawmaking, in constitutional reform, in the building outstanding tribal courts and law enforcement capabilities, in education, in natural resource stewardship, in a wide array of fields. And not only were they acting like nations, but they were putting on a governance performance that sometimes outstripped non-native governments, and they were doing it in innovative ways. And in fact, I think it's fair to say that over the course of the last 2 decades, we discovered that Indian country is riddled, as it were, with creativity. You turn native nations loose, and they do extraordinary things. And they solve problems that many people thought were intractable. And that is having an impact across Indian country. And that growing realization led eventually to a Harvard Project meeting at the Ford Foundation in the late 1990s, where the Honoring Nations program was born. I've always enjoyed the fact that in that meeting that day, someone had proposed that this program be called Best Practices in American Indian Tribal Governance. And Pete Zah, who was at the meeting, said, "No, I don't like that name." He says, "You know, out on the res, you say best practices, everybody thinks of basketball." Like, you know, we had one of the best practices we ever had yesterday afternoon. So that led to a lengthy discussion, and eventually we decided to call that program Honoring Contributions in the Governance of American Indian Nations, commonly known across Indian country as the Honoring Nations program, and that's why we're here today. And since 1999, that program has made awards to more than 120 tribal governance programs that are changing the face of Indian country. And the footprint of Honoring Nations is growing. The stories of those programs have traveled to other parts of the world, where you find indigenous nations engaged in similar struggles to reclaim their right to determine their own futures for themselves, and who are inspired by stories of success, such as the programs that we're honoring today. So that footprint of Honoring Nations, which began here, has now become a global phenomenon. Today we're celebrating, with the launching of this banner display, a rather distinctive group of Honoring Nations award winners. If you look at the theme among these programs, the theme is the future. These are nations that are investing time and energy and passion in their families and in their youth. and doing so in creative ways. And they're doing it because they realize that over the long haul, the success of Native nation rebuilding is not going to depend on decisions being made today, but on the decisions that get made tomorrow. And they're investing in that generation that is going to have to continue that rebuilding process down the road. That's really what we're celebrating today, is that kind of vision. In a sense, I think of these as succession programs. They're programs designed to make sure, as our former board chair, Orrin Lyons, who's sitting here today, once said at an Honoring Nations event a few years ago, to make sure that those generations yet to come, those faces looking up from the earth, won't be disappointed, but in fact will realize the dreams of Indian nations today. So welcome to this event today. Thank you for being here and for joining us in celebrating the success of these stories and in honoring the nations that made them come alive. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Steve. It's always a treat to work with you and learn from you. I'd like to build on some of Steve's comments and tell you a little bit more about the Honoring Nations Awards program and the Indian Nations Rising exhibit featured outside. Honoring Nations was started to shine a light on what is going right in Indian country, not only to share successful approaches to common challenges among our nations, but to shatter stereotypes and demonstrate the capacities of tribal nations really to the world. And over the last 18 years, Honoring Nations has truly become a movement. We've awarded 130 programs from over 80 different tribal nations across the country. We're part of a worldwide network of programs that focus on success in local government and have 9 partners in 9 countries across the world, from Chile to Brazil to China, the Philippines, and South Africa. And in addition, we've been replicated in Australia to recognize and share success among Aboriginal nations. Individually and collectively, each awardee is a powerful agent of change in their own communities, and their synergy really makes a profound statement to and about Indian country and the power and importance of sovereignty and self-determination to build strong and healthy nations. We have a dedicated board of governors who volunteer their time and their energy and their expertise, and they're incredibly invaluable to the Honoring Nations program to guide the evaluation and selection process. They operate on a consensus basis and are really an incredible group of leaders, both individually and collectively, and I'd like to just take a moment and recognize them. Our chair, Regis Pecos, our chair emeritus, Chief Orrin Lyons, Brian Henderson, David Giff, who is also his birthday today, if you happen to see him, Angela Riley, Michael Lipsky, Karen Diver, Andrew Lee, Amanda Cobb, Diane Enos, and not with us today, Wilson Pipestem and Heather Kendall Miller. And I'd also like to recognize Sherry Sully Black, who's here today. She's on our board for many, many years and has transitioned recently to our honorary board. So if we could all give them a huge round of applause. The Indian Nations Rising exhibit stands on the shoulders of many, and we are very proud to have it here and have it unveiled today at NNAI. It's part of our broader dissemination efforts to share the stories of the 130 awardees so that other local governments, native and non-native, can learn from them, can draw inspiration from them, and also practical lessons that they might be able to tease out and apply in their own contexts. Each of our awardees, and certainly the 4 that are highlighted in the Indian Nations Rising exhibit today, are fostering a tradition of success and truly, truly represent the best in tribal self-governance. And it's been an incredible honor for me to work with them and to learn from them, and I'm constantly inspired by their dedication. And I would like to introduce them to you and ask them to come up and say a little bit about their program. So we'll start with Ohologo, the Under the Husk Rites of Passage program from the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. I think Neo's coming up.
Good afternoon. Kananga Hawaiians, Wagata Huni, Akuzasne Tigidolo. My name is Randy Barrero. I'm a Mohawk from Akuzasne, and I'm Wolf Clan. I just wanted to give these young women an opportunity to introduce themselves to you as well.
Sago Saguli Miigwech. My name is Neostozla Thompson, and it means she's a small feather in Mohawk. Deer Clan from Akwesasne First Nation, and it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Sago Ngojijio. I'm 15 years old. I live in Akwesasne, and I'm Bear Clan. Sago Sago Ganadila Singets with Kiwale Natelago Saliago Lagata Huni Akwesasne Skido. My name is Ganadilis. It means she leads the village. I'm 15 years old and I'm of Clan, and I'm from Akwesasne Mohawk territory.
You know, they were a little bit nervous about that, but I think they did a really good job. I wanted to thank everyone for being here and for the honor of representing, being able to represent Ohologo here today. It's a wonderful day anytime you can come and speak on behalf of your youth in your own community to people who are interested and want to learn things about how they can take lessons home. And I wanted to mention something that I got reminded of just sitting there, is that Ohologo started about, I think 12 years ago. And it was from the passion and the care and concern, love of a group of mothers who were watching their children, their teens, grow up in a system that wasn't theirs, going to their own rites of passage, as you would, listening to different kinds of music or getting interested in things outside of their culture, and realizing that the time to take hold of those children was at that age when they're ripening into adults and learning their way. So they gathered them up and they put them through a fast. And the next year, more mothers heard about that and asked them if their kids could join. And so on, it went like that for 10 years. And 2 years ago, we had 77 youth participate in Ohologo from our community and other communities. We now have 6 territories that are practicing Ohologo rites of passage in their own home communities, which is a testament to these young people who travel out to their territories and speak about their own experiences, just like they're doing today. We didn't put a call out for other territories to start this up. The kids did it on their own. They asked their parents, how can we do this? Why don't we do this? And it's been an amazing lesson that you never could have thought of in the beginning, that people will come together out of love for their kids, out of love for their nieces and nephews. And you don't have to make a program for it. It almost is counterproductive to do that because, like Mr. Cornell said, if you put a fancy name on it, people have to talk about what does that even mean. The kids felt it in their own hearts, and they started talking about to their own friends that they wanted to do this. And that's how it grew. It grew out to other Mohawk territories, out to Wisconsin, Oneida, Ganawage. 6 nations. And so we impress upon the nieces and nephews and all of our helpers that the things that we're doing every Sunday for Ohulogo, it's reaching out beyond ourselves, beyond our community, beyond even our Haudenosaunee nations. And so we have a responsibility to those future Ohulogians, as we like to call them, to uphold ourselves in an honorable way. And one of the things, the most important thing that we look back on and we realize is that to get people to gather up around these ideas of language revitalization, nation rebuilding, governance, self-governance, gardening, environmental care and concern, reproductive justice and health, is that if you get your kids together to talk about those things, the parents have to give them a ride. The aunties and uncles want to be there because they're interested. If you just focus on the kids and let the adults ask, can I join you? Then it works. That's just a little secret that we've all learned, and it does work. For every niece and nephew, we ask them to have 4 aunties or uncles with them. So we did the math one time, and we've estimated that we've touched about 1,200 people that way, adults, not children. And it's very important because as they become adults, they come back and they become the helpers and the aunties and uncles, and their little siblings are joining up for the first time. So it's really repeating itself, that's how culture is transmitted, and it grows because it repeats itself. And so we're self-replicating, and it's just an honor to be here finally to talk about that, because we're very proud. We're very proud to be here. And if they have a minute or two, would they be able to talk about just a quick sentence about their experience?
Sure.
I'm Neo. I completed Rites of Passage 2 years ago when they had their 10th anniversary, which was amazing. There was a lot of us that completed, and for our group of girls that went in for our first year, there was 14 of us, and at the end, all 14 of us finished the 4th year. So we were really proud of ourselves, because a lot of people that do start don't necessarily finish because they get scared and everything. But I came back after I finished my 4th year as a helper for other nieces and nephews, and to help out the clan mother and other aunties with like singing the girls out into their moon lodges. And I came back this year because my sister, she started her 1st year, and she asked me to be her auntie. So I was really happy to accept the opportunity to be there for her. And I really liked Olohogu because it takes you places, and you have more of a broad, I don't know, it opens up your mind to just expand and go places and see new reservations and learn different languages. It's a great opportunity, and you should come check it out. Thank you very much.
Hi, this year I just recently completed my 2nd year of fasting, which means I was out there for 2 nights, and when you're out there, there really isn't much to do. It's just you and yourself. And one thing that Ohulogo is really important to me because it's helped me in a lot of ways. I didn't know that I needed help, and it's helped me learn a lot about myself and my culture and my traditions. And yeah, and it's just really nice to see my friends do it, and because we're we're the next generation of leaders in our community, and it's really important to learn all this stuff and to learn our language too, and our songs and our teachings. And I'm really thankful for Ohulogo because it's definitely helped me a lot, and it's taught me a lot of courage and responsibility and empowerment.
Thank you.
I've just recently completed my second year of Ohulogo. Ohulogo has given me a different perspective on to view things in life. It has empowered me to make better choices, and it's given me an inner strength as a young woman. In Ohulogo, we are a big family.
Yamagoa, thank you very much.
Thank you all. It's such a phenomenal program, and to give these young nieces and the nephews the opportunity to bring forth their gifts is incredibly special. So I'd like to bring up the Potawatomi Leadership Program from the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. Tasia? Thank you.
Bonjour, Dujakli and Dejnikas, Shani Oklahoma and Dochbia. My name is Tasia Zintek. My English name is Tasia Zintek. My Potawatomi name is Like a Crane, Dujakli. And I'm here today from Shawnee, Oklahoma. I would also like to introduce the other guests that are here from the Potawatomi Nation. We have Eva Marie Carney, who is one of our tribal legislators, who is here. We have Chief Justice Angela Riley, who is of course on the board of Honoring Nations, but is also the Chief Justice of our Tribal Supreme Court. Jackie Nadeau, who is a former Potawatomi Leadership Program student, and her family, Stephen, Lydia, Hannah, and Melody. And then the Korzeniewski family, Nancy, George, Kathleen, Anna, Brent, Kim, and Ed. And I just wanted to really quickly, with the permission of the family, just share a little bit why that family is here and why it's really important. This day is special for a lot of reasons. The Potawatomi Leadership Program, which I'll describe briefly in just a moment, is a really special program that does a lot of very important things, one of them being creating a community. And in 2015, one of the students who went to that program, Ross Korzeniewski, was just one of the brightest and most special students we've had go through that program. He impacted immediately everybody that he was around, and his life ended too soon for us, but of course he lives on in all the people he impacted. And so his family have remained engaged, and they're here today. And his picture is actually in the exhibit. We shared a folder of the images. We did not tell Honoring Nations what images to choose, and they selected a photo that is of him in a ribbon shirt that he was given during the program. And so it's just another way that his spirit is going to live on, and we are incredibly grateful for his family for letting us, sharing Ross with us for the time that they did. So thank you for being here. So I am the Education Director for the Citizen Potawatomi Nation, and I'm also the advisor for the Potawatomi Leadership Program. So I get to spend a lot of time with this program, honestly, because it is something that I really enjoy. It started as not a job for me. It was just something that I saw the program and wanted to be involved, and had known all of the students, and asked if I could help, and got that honor. So the Potawatomi Leadership Program originated in 2003 when at the time, business committee of our tribe noticed that our tribal members, especially our younger tribal members, we were offering them services and getting to do all these wonderful things for the tribal members, but the young people didn't always have a connection to their tribe. Our tribe has over 30,000 tribal members, 2/3 of which live outside of Oklahoma, where our tribe is headquartered. It's really hard to initiate and maintain engagement among tribal members when they're far away and maybe don't have opportunities on a daily basis. And so the program began as a way to help spark that engagement, just for that in itself, but also so that once the leaders that we have right now age out or are ready for the next generation, there's a great pool of qualified leaders to take their place who know about the tribe, who have been invested in. We really look at it with a seed corn mentality. We are planting the seed corn so that in future generations, these students become the leaders of their tribe. So every summer for 6 weeks, 8 to 10 Potawatomi Nation tribal members are selected to come to Oklahoma. They live together and they get to basically have a crash course in the culture, government, and economic development of our tribe. They visit with tribal departments throughout their 6 weeks. They get to participate in ceremonies. They get to have cultural teachings. We pack their schedules very, very full, and we've been doing that since 2003. So we have over 100 students who have completed the program, and those students are there are too many inspirational stories to share. Several of them have come back to the tribe to work. Others have expressed the desire to run for tribal leadership in the future. And beyond that, they've also created a community among themselves where they now have the tools to be engaged with the tribe, and they have a community to support them as they do that. And so today I've invited Jackie Nadeau here to share her story. We wanted to bring all of our students, or as many as we possibly could. That was impossible. So what we did instead is we invited the alumni of the program to submit an essay describing the impact of the program on their life. And of those submissions, we selected Jackie. So she's going to read her essay to you all.
Bonjour, Jackie Nadeau Nadezhnikos. Hello, my name is Jackie Nadeau. Unity, Maine, in Deutsch Bien. I'm from Unity, Maine. I participated in the Potawatomi Leadership Program in the year 2014. Before participating in this program, I knew nothing about my Native American heritage. When I was accepted, it was one of the happiest moments of my life. I didn't know what it was going to be like, but I was thrilled to be a part of it. After the program, I knew more about the citizen Potawatomi Nation than most do in their entire life, and I was able to learn it all in one summer. I didn't fully understand the impact this program would have on my life, and I still don't, but I do recognize the significance it has had and will have in my future. Right after the program, I was already planning on moving to Oklahoma to begin college at Oklahoma Christian University. I knew no one and had no connections whatsoever. After this program, I was able to call the citizen Potawatomi Nation a home away from home. It provided me with connections, business and family related. It has been my primary health care over the years, and being so far away from home, it's nice to know I have a place that I can go to that I trust, and I know that they'll take care of me. In the summer of 2016, I was accepted to be an intern for the Indian Child Welfare Department. This position provided me with a job for the summer, but also an idea of what I want to do in the future. I fell in love with the people, and I fell in love with the work. Before this job, I had no idea what I wanted to do, and now I have found my passion. This summer, I have been rehired to work for the Indian Child Welfare Department as a full-time employee to complete my practicum required for my major in order to graduate next year. This is only the beginning of my involvement with my tribe. My goal is to become an Indian child welfare attorney and to hopefully be hired by the citizen Potawatomi Nation. I want people to know I'm Native American because I'm proud of it. I'm proud of the heritage that still exists and the yearly powwows that our members are able to be a part of. I'm proud of our leadership for bettering society and doing what's right. I'm proud of the difficulties our tribe has successfully overcome because of the unification of our nation. It's an honor to be a Potawatomi citizen, and I hope someday I'll be able to give back to the tribe, contributing to the difference this nation is making. I have been given values, opportunities, knowledge, passion and ambition for the future, and so much more, all because of the Potawatomi Leadership Program. Miigwech. Thank you.
Thank you. I love the idea that they had a contest of their participants to come here. So thank you all, and thank you for sharing your story. I'd like to now invite up the Port Gamble Slalom Tribal Child Welfare Program. Andrea? Oh.
Good afternoon. Thank you and for having us here today, and it is an honor and a privilege to be a recipient of the Harvard Honoring of Nations Award. I am joined today by Port Gamble Slalom Tribal Member and Administrative Director Kara Wright and Andrea Smith, our Children and Family Services Attorney. My name is Cheryl Miller. I'm an enrolled member of the Assiniboine Sioux Tribe from Montana, and I'm the Community Services Division Director for the Port Gamble Slalom Children and Family Services Department. The Port Gamble Slalom Tribe has a reservation of approximately 1,700 acres on the northern tip of the Kitsap Peninsula, roughly 30 miles across the Puget Sound from Seattle. The tribe has approximately 1,300 citizens and more than 378 children. The tribe has always been proactive with operating programs previously operated by state governments to benefit their people and protect their children. In 2008, through the Fostering Connections Act, it gave the tribe the ability to deal directly with the federal government. The Port Gamble tribe seized this opportunity to expand control over child welfare payments and secure a funding stream for its work with vulnerable families. This was accomplished with extensive planning and technical assistance from Washington State, and in 2012, the Port Gamble Slalom tribe became the first tribe in the nation to receive federal approval to administer Title 40 funds directly. The Child Welfare Program has completely transformed what happens when slalom families find themselves in crisis, and if a child can no longer remain safely in the home of their parents, and parents and relatives participate in their plans for the future. This not only reduces the time in out-of-home placement, but helps keep the slalom child in the reservation community. Most importantly, the tribe is keeping their children home, where they can develop into future leaders and productive citizens. By operating our own child welfare program, Port Gamble has reasserted its sovereignty over the future of slalom children, reflecting the slalom belief that the entire tribe is the child's family. Incorporating culture into the child welfare plan assures the children will maintain contact with the family and gives the children an opportunity to learn about and participate in the slalom way. In addition to tribal codes, an ICW practice manual was developed to give guidance to caseworkers, families, and stresses the importance of slalom traditions and values. Unlike the state and federal welfare programs, slalom teachings recognize that parents always have gifts to offer their children, whether or not they are able to care for them. Where we are today, the tribe continues to find ways to improve services to families and children. We have recently developed a positive Indian parenting curriculum incorporating slalom traditions and values. The facilitators for this parenting class include a Port Gamble Slalom tribal elder who's also our foster parent coordinator and certified mental health counselors. In addition to holding the group parenting classes, they also provide one-on-one parenting in the homes of parents who need extra support and help with parenting. This has been a great prevention tool to help parents be successful and stay out of the court system. We include families in decision-making processes. With our family group decision-makings, it enables the families to have a voice in their process, and it has helped decrease enabling behaviors and create better outcomes. In addition to our family group decision-making, we also hold monthly CPT meetings and present those recommendations to court. We changed the name of our ICW case managers to family care coordinators. It better defines what their job truly is. We currently have 2 full-time family care coordinators on staff, one of whom is a Port Gamble Slalom tribal member. In addition to the family care coordinators, the child welfare program we have a child welfare program manager, who does all of the child welfare investigations and supervises the program. We have a wonderful staff who work cooperatively with the staff, with other staff, our state and federal partners, and all of our other service providers. The family care coordinators also go on outings with the children. on their caseload, getting to know them on a personal level, and this has been a fun activity for everybody involved. The family care coordinators also present pictures of the kids to the judge, so the judge has a face to go with the name of all of the kids within the court system. The tribe is so fortunate to have so many services, warm in here, pardon me, located in the tribe and in the Children and Family Services Department. In addition to the Child Welfare Program, we also offer, in addition to our Child Welfare Title 40 program and Foster Care Licensing Program, we also operate TANF, Summer Lunch Program, Child Support, Home Visitation, Youth Services, Elders Program, a Food and Clothing Bank, a Vulnerable Adult Program, and also the Wellness Center, which has behavioral and CD needs. Because of the size of our department, we also have our own attorney and financial manager. Also in our department is Tribal Elder Rose Purser. Rose is 87 years old, an associate judge and community development specialist, and she provides guidance to our workers and is a wonderful historian and former tribal council member. In closing, I would like to quote a Port Gamble-Sklallam tribal official, and that quote is, "If a tribe does not have its children, there are not many other things worth fighting for." Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. I think that last quote is so profound, and the ability and the drive to change state law, to change the definition of family to tribe is so incredible. So thank you all for leading the way. And now I'd like to invite up the school-based health centers from the Fort Peck Reservation.
Thank you. You know, it's an honor. It's really quite an honor to be here and able to share what we've accomplished with very little resources. And with these very little resources, we're able to expand and help other tribes. It's like what I said, our children are our future, and we need to do everything we possibly can to help our children. My name is Kenny Smoker. I am the director of the Health Promotion Disease Prevention Program with the Fort Peck Tribes. And I've been doing this under contract with the tribe for about 14 years now. But our program started out with pretty much zero resources. We were given $5,400 to start this program. And this program now, we have roughly, I'll put in terms of employees, we have roughly about 120 employees. We're advertising and getting on board about 60 more employees. We're going to build a wellness center, which is going to employ about another 60 to 70 employees, and that's going to start next month. This honor alone has given us recognition from other organizations to move us along. And it's all about helping children and getting our people back on the right track. The school-based health program, what we do is we provide medical care, mental health, and dental care to our children in all school districts on the reservation. There's 5 of them. So it's one of our major tasks was recruiting these healthcare professionals into the school. So in the mental health side of things, we have psychiatrists, psychologists, licensed social workers, LCPCs, licensed addiction counselors, and mental health therapists to assist our children with the number of mental health and behavioral health problems that exist on the reservation. And believe me, there's a lot. And we still need probably about 20 more mental health staff in that area. So, and if you ever, if you know where Fort Peck is, it's in a remote location in the state of Montana. Probably in the country, probably one of the most remote places and hard to get to with for recruitment and getting health services in our communities. On the medical side of things, we have physicians, we have pediatricians and family physicians, We also have nurse practitioners, nurses, CNAs, and other healthcare professionals, like nutritionists that work in the schools. On the dental side of things, we have a dentist and dental hygienist. We have 5 dental hygienists addressing issues and cleaning teeth in the school. So last year, we've seen about 10,000 children out of about 2,500 children. So 10,000 encounters out of 2,500 children in all the schools, in the school system. And what's great about it is, we provide that service to all children, regardless of race, regardless of income, or the ability to pay. It's the children come into our clinics and they get the service. Where, some of the things that we're proud of, that we keep the children in the school. In some of our communities, they're about 40, 50 miles away from a healthcare facility. So they're able to get that service in the school, keep them in the school, but it also gives them some exposure to healthcare professionals. And one of the great things about it is we've had some of our students, high school students, graduate and go off to become nurses and hygienists and other healthcare professions that they're in now. So it's a great thing. One of the best thing I can say about the program is that we know for a fact that it saved 3 lives of children. And without that service, I don't know what would happen. But there's a number of children that we see throughout the year, and especially in the mental health area that's so needed, because there's, like most reservations, and I think a lot of you would agree with this, that we don't have the resources necessary to deal with these issues. And like Indian Health Service, they're only funded at 50%. From that poverty, a lot of these issues come about, so we're there to assist. And I think the great thing about our program, it doesn't take any tribal dollars, and the main thing, it saves lives and gives our children hope. Thank you.
Thanks, Penny. It's such an incredible program. It's a simple solution to a problem that so many of our nations and rural America really faces. How do you get children both in education and healthcare that they need? And by bringing it into schools is truly brilliant. So maybe we could give all the programs another round of applause. So I'd like to welcome the Honorary Nations Chairman of the Board to the podium, Regis Pecos, to offer some words. Regis was born and raised on the Cochiti Pueblo in New Mexico. He served as governor and lieutenant governor and is a lifetime member of the Traditional Tribal Council. He's been on the Board of Honoring Nations, I think, since the beginning, and is a constant source of strength and wisdom for us. So, Regis.
My elders, Sewat Yuming, my brothers, Shakuya, our women, relatives, Shashrohti, our young people. Seum Kuhu, Hok Asian Bibani, Gosh Diwana, Duna, you eat a church, 8 shall new out go on. As our elders teach, that as long as we offer prayers for guidance, that our prayers will always be answered. And what you've heard today is the answer to those prayers by many. That there will be a time in our journey that we would be blessed with people who inspire us, who give us hope, who give us reason to hold true to the core values gifted to us by our Creator. Today is July 12, 2017, and I just want to provide additional context for why this celebration is so profoundly important. Our elders refer to the time of beginning in all of our indigenous cultures and nations and of our peoples. Yut te ha mahe, in that time of beginning. Our Creator gifted to us in that time of origin, of creation, of emergence, the gift of our Mother Earth, that through our spiritual journey into this physical world, there was a place that we would forever be connected to. The Creator gave us the gift of language with which to find purpose and meaning in our lives. And the Creator gave us a way of life, the source of our spirituality. And the Creator gifted to us indigenous laws and customs with which to govern us and all living things in this world that we live in. And the Creator also gifted to us governance, that process of the maintenance of relationships and balance. And the Creator gifted to us family, the receiver of the sacred gift that life might continue, and the gift of community that we are all members of, and the gift of the resources to sustain us physically and spiritually, water being the precious spiritual significance of all life. So since that time of beginning to this time in 2017, it was foretold that there will be many interruptions along our journey. And just beyond here is a place represented by the most powerful nation in this world, who in a history of our relationships purposefully conceived policies and laws that recently the United Nations declared some of the most horrific crimes against humanity. And we are of that people, the recipients of purposefully conceived policies and laws to destroy all that the Creator gifted to us. Ours, our elders teach, is a life of sacrifice. And so, as we reflect upon our past and recognize all who have gone before us, we remember them in celebration for all that they sacrificed, for all that they gave to define in their time what future generations would inherit from them. We were those yet to be born that they spoke of. So in our time, in this present time, for the challenges we face, we must appreciate are deeply rooted in that history. How we respond today will define what future generations will inherit from us. So as we ask the question, what do we love most about where we come from? Today we heard the voices of the young people who have responded to what they love most about where they come from. And as we ask what threatens what we love most, they are the examples of responding to what they love most, that they feel threatened. That such a pathway, consistent with those gifts of the core values, validated and affirmed through our ceremonial calendar, that they find purpose and meaning here and here. So Honoring Nations celebrates many, many people who are returning to those precious gifts gifted to us by our Creator. Those core values that define who we are, what we do, and why we do what we do. as a way to honor those who gifted us our core values. And so this is a time on behalf of the board that we extend our appreciation to all of you who've gathered to join in this celebration of some really profoundly extraordinary people in our communities, that despite every effort by the most powerful nation in this world to destroy all that the Creator gifted to us, that in 2017 we remain. To hear the beauty of the song of celebration, to hear the languages shared today is the evidence of hope and inspiration. So on behalf of the Board of Governors of Honoring Nations, our deepest gratitude to all of you present here to celebrate all those who represent the hope and the inspiration deeply embedded in the faith and the continuation of the prayers offered. May our Creator continue to bless and guide you with the wisdom to contribute to define what future generations will inherit from us.
Thank you very much, Regis. My name is Joe Kalt. I'm one of the co-directors of the Harvard Project on American Indian Economic Development. And it's my distinct honor to welcome our keynote speaker today. Senator Tom Udall, the senior senator from New Mexico, carries a name with a long history of relationships in Indian country. Not the least of which, for example, Steve Cornell is just stepping down after about 2 decades as the director of the Udall Center for Studies in Public Policy, which houses at the University of Arizona our partner program, the Native Nations Institute. I think this evening the Udall Fellows will, the Udall Native Fellows will be welcomed for their summer internships. And Tom carries on this tradition by serving on the Senate Committee on Indian Affairs. You know, there's a message of honoring nations. It's that sovereignty works, self-government works. And we have a supporter in Tom Udall and the efforts he makes in promoting the interests of tribes around the country. So it's a distinct honor to welcome you. As he walks up here, I tell you, we found out at dinner about a year ago. We grew up very close to each other in Tucson, Arizona, and didn't know each other then, but we now cross here in this piece of Indian country. Thank you. So, Tom, please.
Joe, thank you for that very, very nice introduction, and I know that Dr. Kalt has worked for decades in support of strengthening tribal sovereignty, and I want to thank you and the Harvard Project for the tremendous contributions you've made. It's really incredible what you all have done, and I want to recognize also my fellow New Mexican, Regis Pecos. You all know that Regis chairs, and I never like to speak after Regis. He's always so moving, but that's the position I'm in today. But he's given many years of service to the state of New Mexico. I've worked with him a lot, and it's always a pleasure to be with you here, Regis. Regis, also, I think you know, on the Senate Indian Affairs Committee, I'm the vice chairman. Our staff is headed by a Santa Clara Pueblo woman, Jennifer Romero. Jennifer, stand up and come out and wave to these folks. I'm first tremendously proud of her. She worked with, she's a lawyer, she worked for Secretary Jewell, but one of the things that I've tried to stand for is trying to diversify my staff, and I asked her coming over here today because I was pretty sure it was true. I think she's the only minority head of staff in the U.S. Senate. So I'm just tremendously impressed by the work that she's doing. Now, and I don't know, is Kevin Gover still here? Is he, or did he leave? He's always busy when he's around here, but I wanted to just recognize him. He went to my alma mater, the University of New Mexico Law Schools, many years of work My wife worked here with Kevin and with the first director, Rick West, to get this museum standing up. And I hope after, if this is just your first visit, that you come and spend time here. Anytime I have a spare moment getting away from this crazy place, the Capitol, I come down here because there's such wonderful exhibits. The Nation to Nation exhibit, which is the treaty exhibit. Fritz Scholder had an exhibit. So every time you're in town, you should come back. And I want to recognize Chief Lyons, and thank you so much for being here, for your decades of work to the United States and Canada, around the world, and protecting Native customs, traditions, and values. Now, I wanted to just say a few words here about the honorees. I've been reading a lot about you. I'm delighted to be here to honor Native American projects that are making a real difference in the lives of real people on a daily basis. I went into politics to make a difference. Our honorees are making a difference in the lives of Native children, in their families, and in their tribes. We honor 4 projects today, projects whose leaders identify a problem, rolled up their sleeves, figured out solutions, and set about the hard work of getting something done. To the Ohelogo under the Husk rites of passage, that's making sure that Native youth understand their traditional teachings so they are prepared to lead. To the Potawatomi Leadership Program, that is making sure that college-age members understand the tribe's government culture and the economic development because of these young adults and what they're going to do in the future. To the Port Gamble Squalam Tribal Child Welfare Program, that's making a difference in the way children grow up in their community. And to the Fort Peck Reservation School-Based Health Centers, nothing more important than making sure kids are healthy. If kids are healthy, they're going to learn and be productive. So I'm honored to be here with you. It sounds like you gave them many rounds of applause, but let's give them another one. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about sovereignty like Joe did. We must make cultural, political, and economic sovereignty a reality for all American Indian and Alaska Native tribes. The Harvard Project is evidence-based and demonstrates that Native Americans taking charge of their government and economic development produces dividends. That preservation of indigenous cultures, languages, beliefs, and practices produces tangible results. We know that if Native youth carry their traditional values with them in the modern world, they can succeed. They have the foundation to live according to those values, and we need to make sure they have the tools to navigate the complexities of today's world. We see the success of the Ohelogo making sure that their youth understand traditional values and ways, and the Potawatomi making sure that young adults have the tools to govern and prosper. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about my work in the Senate. I told you a little bit about Jennifer and her hard work over there, keeping me focused. This is in the United States government at the congressional level. The Senate is the only one that has a full-time committee, the Senate Indian Affairs Committee. And it's taken me about 8.5 years to work up, but I'm now the vice chairman. If the Democrats were in the majority, I'd be the chairman. So I'm ready to go if that happens, just to let you know. But we try to do everything we can to support Native American sovereignty at all levels, cultural, political, and economic. A couple of bills that I've sponsored I thought I should talk about because they fit in with the themes that you're talking about. One is the Native American Business Incubators Program Act, requiring a grant program within the Interior Department to help launch business incubators in Native American communities. As all of you know, small businesses create jobs and opportunity and empower people to shape their own future. I want to do all I can to support entrepreneurs in Indian country to help cut through red tape and get access to startup funding. And I want to see Native Americans take charge of their own businesses and grow jobs in Indian country. That's tremendously important to me. To say a word about languages, just to start, I'll talk a little bit about a bill, but the thing that I feel passionate about, and Regis and I know this, as I travel New Mexico and our 23 tribes, I see those tribes really working hard to retain language. And the thing they know at their core is if you lose language, you lose the culture. And so we need to do everything we can. Since I've been in the Congress, we took the guidance of a wonderful woman I'm going to talk about in a little bit by the name of Esther Martinez, and we named this law after her that we passed called the Esther Martinez Native Language Preservation Program. The bill extends the bill we passed as a grant program through 2022 and makes common sense changes to the program's grantee requirement section. Changes what we put in based on direct input of the tribes. We always in this committee try to reach out, listen to the tribes on legislation, and then incorporate that in legislation. This bill is named after a respected tribal elder who championed the continued use of her native tongue, Tewa, and supports the tribal innovation in native language programs and that has gone on for so many years. Esther Martinez, as some of you may know, I know Regis knows this well, was an extraordinary woman. She's a prime example of how one person can make a difference. She was born in 1912, lived to 94 years old. Her grandparents were from Okeowinge Pueblo near Espanola, New Mexico, and she learned Tewa as a child. She attended the Santa Fe Indian School and the Albuquerque Indian School at a time when students were punished if they dared to speak their own languages in Indian boarding schools, a sad chapter in our history. Esther started teaching in the 1960s in Pueblo, Colorado, and taught at Okeowinge in the 1970s and 80s. She began cataloging, teaching, and translating Tewa language. She published a Tewa dictionary. She nearly single-handedly revived the language. The 1980 census counted over 1,298 Tewa speakers. The American Community Survey released by the U.S. Census Bureau in 2015 counted 4,620 Tewa speakers, nearly a threefold increase. I'm tremendously proud of that. And I was honored to get to know Esther and to have been with her when she received the National Endowment for the Arts Heritage Award in 2006. She received that award, and on her trip home, she was tragically killed in an automobile accident. And that we took that and her effort to name language laws after her. Just last week, I held a field hearing in the Indian Affairs Committee at the Santa Fe Indian School, one of the boarding schools that Esther attended. The hearing had to do with how we stop the manufacture and sale of fake Indian arts and crafts. A Santa Fe Indian School student, Jude Chavarria, from Santa Clara Pueblo, from Jen's Pueblo, gave an opening and closing prayer in Tewa. The school that used to ban Tewa now teaches Tewa. Isn't that a good thing? We love that. Preserving and revitalizing native languages is key to preserving culture and retaining cultural sovereignty. Progress has been made, but we have to do much more. At the Senate committee hearing, we heard witnesses talk about how the sale of imitation Indian art is rampant. It is estimated that between 30 to 80% of Indian art sold is fake. Yet we only have 2 officers from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service that are charged with enforcement, working full-time on this issue. This is unacceptable. We're going to fight to put in additional resources. This is something that Congress needs to address. The proliferation of fake art wrongly appropriates Native culture and denies Native Americans sovereignty over their art. This proliferation devalues Native art and hurts Native artists and Native American economies. The good news is Native American art is valued and treasured, and there is a great consumer demand for it, and that consumers want authentic Indian arts and crafts. But the bad news is swindlers are appropriating Native American arts and crafts and violating federal law to make millions off of Native American artists. The purpose of the hearing was to figure out ways to improve our law enforcement efforts and how to do better consumer education. We'll take information from the hearing to help Native American artists and craftsmen regain their control and sovereignty over art. Historically, the Indian Affairs Committee has often operated in a bipartisan basis, and I want to draw upon that tradition. My chairman urged me to go out to New Mexico and hold a hearing and sent the staff, and so we were able to do that. As you all know, the federal government has a trust responsibility towards American Indians, Alaska Natives, and Native Hawaiians. We must respect tribes and pueblos and work with them on a government-to-government basis, sovereign-to-sovereign basis, and promote that sovereignty in every single bill that we pass. Now, just one final thing to talk about healthcare, because I know in several of these programs concern healthcare. Healthcare is in the political spotlight right now. It's critically important to understand the impact of the Republican bills, what we call on the Hill now Trump Care, and the impact it would have in Indian country. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about it a little bit here. Historically, the federal government has underfunded Indian health services, and as many of you know, this responsibility was undertaken in treaties with tribes, nation to nation. This has severely limited the ability of the IHS, the Indian Health Service, to provide care other than priority or emergency care for Indian patients. This has resulted in delays for primary care services, longer delays for specialized services, and sometimes no services at all. The Affordable Care Act and the expansion of Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act helped change this situation dramatically. We've seen hospitals that were life and limb. Indian hospitals, they call them life and limb. You can only go in an emergency. Now with Medicaid and Medicaid expansion, these hospitals can offer preventive services. They can really reach out and do a lot and offer a lot more specialized care. So we need to protect that. For fiscal year 2016, the Indian Health Service reported that 41.5% of patients receiving services in fiscal year 2016 had coverage through the Medicaid program. And a third-party billing for Medicaid services provided IHS facilities with more than $800 million. So if you roll back Medicaid, you roll back the Medicaid expansion, you're taking that money out of the Indian Health Services, which would be an absolute disaster. So Medicaid reimbursements now represent a whopping 67% of third-party revenues at IHS and provide 13% of IHS's total operating budget. So I hope that you all hearing that will do whatever you can from the states you come from to speak out against this Trump Care bill. It could be a disaster for the health of Native American children, for Native American communities. I'm rushing back right now to continue in the fight, but I just want to thank you for all the work. Joseph, what you're